I really hate to say this, but Arrow has essentially now come to an end. This video today, we're going to be discussing our top 10 Arrow episodes, every season of Arrow ranked, and our top 10 Arrow characters. So stay tuned. Today we are joined by Ben from the DC TV show. Thanks, Ben, for coming on today. This is going to be an Arrow-centric podcast.
Looking forward to this. Arrow is ending. Obviously, there's not something to look forward to, but excited to talk.
Yes, we are. This is an Arrow-centric podcast we're going to be talking about today. And the topics that we'll be discussing today are the top 10 Arrow episodes, top 10 Arrow characters, and finally, all Arrow seasons ranked. Okay, let's get straight into it, and then we'll talk a little bit about the shows this week, just a little bit, very briefly at the end, if we have the time. So, first of all, we're going to talk about our top 8 Arrow episodes. So, Ben, let you start this off. What are your top 8 Arrow episodes?
So, I'll say my number 1 first, yeah?
Do you want to... Okay, yeah.
Go from 8?
Yeah. Do whichever one you want.
Okay. Alright, let's do number 1 first. My number 1 episode is... I don't know, I really like all these episodes, but I think it's Season 5, Episode 9, What We Leave Behind. That was the episode where, you remember, it was the mid-season finale of Season 5. There was the big fight between Prometheus, and there was a reveal of, like, what side a person is on, and I just thought it was a really, really good episode, especially in terms of fighting, and it's just very memorable to me. There's a bunch of episodes in Season 5 that I sort of class as some of the best, because I think Season 5 has so many good episodes, it's really hard to pin down, but for now, I'd say I would put that, but it could change any day.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
About you? Or should I go number 2?
Oh, I thought you were going down your list. Okay.
Alright, let's go down my list.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so number 2 is Kapoor Shaad, which was Season 5, Episode 17.
Mm-hmm.
This was the episode where Adrian tried to make Oliver confess his sins, and, Oliver was confined for most of the episode, and I just thought this was such a good episode because of, the chemistry between both characters and how they just play off of each other, and...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's just such a good episode. Like with episode 9, which I put as my favourite, I mean, they can flip-flop back and forth. It's mainly to do with, Prometheus and Oliver and how well they work together. So, yeah. Number 3, The Scientist, the episode with Barry Allen in Season 2, Episode 8, is a classic episode. It's an episode that I would go back to and rewatch lots of times because it's one of those early episodes where you see Barry for the first time before we have the show, and it's just a great setup, and I always like going back to it. I've been back to it many times over the years, and I'm sure because Arrow's ending, I will go back to some of my favorite episodes and rewatch them a bit. And I think a lot of the best episodes do actually consist of Season 2 episodes, but also Season 5 episodes for me. And so that leads me on to my next one. My next one is Arrow Season 5 Episode 16. That is Checkmate. So the episode when Prometheus was revealed, I thought this was a really memorable episode as well. And Oliver, he finds the truth out about Prometheus via Talia al Ghul. And yeah, I just like with the other Season 5 episodes, it's really down to those two working together so well. And so my number 5 episode is Lian Yu. So Season 5, Episode 23. So actually my top 5, I've got four Season 5 episodes. You can tell how much I like Season 5. Lian Yu was a great finale to Season 5, which is my, spoiler alert, my favourite season of Arrow. And I just thought it was an explosive end, and it was invigorating, sort of really exciting the whole way, and it was the final sort of chapter of one of the best villains in the Arrowverse, that being Prometheus. So I definitely go back to that as often as I can, and so that leads me into my next episode pick, which is number 6. This is Three Ghosts. So Oliver is drugged and he's left for dead after he had this big fight, and Felicity is there, she's helping out, but also you have Barry as well. And I feel like a lot of the episodes that I go back and watch do actually consist of Barry. And this was, the episode where he had sort of hallucinations, and I just think that Barry works so well with all of these characters back in season two. It was just a really nice episode once again. And so my number seven pick is actually a season one episode. It's Sacrifice, the finale, sorry, for season one. So season one, episode 23. A fantastic end. We got that moment with Tommy Merlyn that is extremely memorable, and I think it was just a great sort of climatic finale to the start of Arrow, and it was just so great. And then my final pick, number eight, is the pilot episode, episode one. It's a classic. I've watched it so many times, and I can just watch it over and over again. So yeah, that's my picks.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good. That's good. Because pretty much every one of those are in my top 10. And the thing is, yeah, I know we said we were gonna do top 8, but I actually have a top 10. So don't worry, you don't need the top 10. Well, if you have a top 10, feel free to say it.
I have a top 10.
Okay,
Okay,
say your final two.
Okay. All right. So my going to my final two, I have Fundamentals, which was season six, episode 18. This was the episode where Adrian Chase actually returns, and you can tell there's a pattern every time that Adrian shows up. It's so good. And this was in season six, and I'm not like the biggest fan of season six. I thought it was pretty average.
Yeah.
However, I thought this episode was just amazing. I thought it was just a nice sort of callback to season five, and it felt like a season five episode. So that's why it's there. Number 10 is Unthinkable, the finale for season two. So season two, episode 23. This was, the final showdown essentially with Deathstroke, and Oliver is, forced to consider what he's willing to do to stop Slade. And I thought, it's just a great way to end one of, the best villains in Arrow. So yeah, that's my top 10.
Okay, that's great. So like I was saying, I think pretty much all of your top 10 are in my top 10, but actually no, with a few differences. But I'll say my
good minds think alike.
Yeah. I have like a couple differences, but we'll get to that right now. So starting off with number 10, it's a tie between season 2 episode 23, that's the season 2 finale, Unthinkable, and the season 1 premiere, episode 1. So it's tied between those two as number 10. I'm not sure which one I prefer, but yeah, they're neck and neck. So at the moment, they're number 10. Number 9, we have the season 1, episode 23 finale titled Sacrifice. Like you said, I love that episode. The episode was very good. The final climatic battle with Oliver and Malcolm Merlyn and the death of Tommy Merlyn was very emotional for me. That's one of my most emotional deaths in the entire Arrowverse as a whole. And so yeah, I really love that episode. I can watch that any day. Number 8, we have season 8, episode 6, which was Reset this season. It was the Arrow's version of Groundhog Day, and for me that was a very good episode, very enjoyable. I even said in my review for that episode that it's definitely going to make my top 10, which it obviously ultimately did. So number 7, we have season 5, episode 8, and that is Arrow's 100th episode, which was part of the Invasion crossover. And the reason why that's part of my top 10 is because it was so, for me, it was so nostalgic, so many callbacks to the previous seasons, and the episode as a whole was so good. It was so well done. I remember that episode. The thing is, yeah, I've only watched it once, but I remember almost everything about it. It's so memorable, and definitely in my top 10, and it's number 7. Number 6, we have season 8, episode 1. So yeah, that's 2 episodes from season 8 so far in my top 10. That's, for me, that's how good season 8 has been. Season 8, episode 1, Starling City. Wow. That's, for me, this episode was the best season premiere of not just Arrow, but any of the Arrowverse shows. It was so good, especially in the ending where Earth 2 literally just got destroyed. It was so mind-blowing because then we knew Crisis is already started. Like, I love that episode. I've seen that episode about 3 or 4 times now. I can't believe I've seen it that many times because usually I only watch episodes once. I don't really watch episodes more than once, but this one I've seen about 3 or 4 times. It was that good. So what number are we on now? Number 5, we have season 5, episode 17, and that's Capuchon. Is that how you pronounce it? Capuchon.
Sure.
Yeah, Capuchon. That was the. I remember that episode for me was very. I love that episode. That was when Adrian had Oliver tied. Not tied. He held him hostage, and then he tried to break Oliver. He tried to make Oliver admit that he loved killing, and for me, that episode was so intense. And Adrian actually broke Oliver. Not many other people can. Did that make sense? Not many other people. Not many people can admit that or say that they have done that successfully. That they have broken Oliver. But that episode just proved how good Adrian Chase was as a villain. I love that episode so much. I always rewatch that scene where Oliver just breaks and say, "I wanted to," and I like it. That was him admitting to killing. I always rewatch that scene because it was so well acted by both Stephen Amell and oh no, don't tell me I forgot Adrian Chase's. Don't tell me. What's his name? I met the guy. What's his name? I'm so sorry.
Josh Segarra.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Oh,
I can't believe I forgot.
on.
That's my guy. I met him. He's I don't know why I forgot his name. A moment of blankness there, but okay. So number 4, we have season 7, episode 7, Slabside Redemption. That was the prison episode in season 7, and wow, that episode was action packed. I love that episode. Everything about it. For me, that has some of the best action in the whole series of Arrow. If not, probably the best action in the whole series. But yeah, it's definitely up there. But yeah, I love that episode. It was so engaging throughout the climatic confrontation between I was gonna say Adrian Chase, between Ricardo Diaz and Oliver. Everything about it was very good. I love it. So number 3, we have season 2, episode 18, titled Deathstroke. That was when Deathstroke kidnapped Thea. That episode was very intense throughout. Again, all of these episodes in my top 10 were all intense, but this one, I was on the edge of my seat. I remember watching this for the first time. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, because for me, I honestly feared for Thea's life. When I was watching this for the first time, I remember, because Deathstroke, up until this point, I don't think we saw him in this. I can't remember. Correct me if I'm wrong down below in the comments, but I feel like this was the first time we actually saw Deathstroke in the suit. That's why this episode was titled Deathstroke. I don't know. I could be wrong, but yeah, I love everything about this episode. And for me, the highlight of this episode was Thea, because obviously she was the main focus. She was being captured, and thank goodness she was saved, because she is actually, I'm not going to say what she is, because we'll get to that a bit later on in the podcast if we have the time. So yeah, moving on to number 2, season 2, episode 15, titled The Promise. And this episode showed us why Slade hated Oliver. This episode showed us the promise that Slade made to Oliver, and which made him return to Star City. Was it how many years later? 5 years later? I can't remember. But yeah, this episode was, I think, from memory, it was more of a flashback episode from memory. I've only seen this episode once, but I remember loving this. And it's ironic that this is number 2, because I've only seen it once. Yet it's my number 2. But I remember when I saw the episode, I remember being in awe, because it was so good. It didn't really have much Green Arrow action to what I remember, but to what I remember, the episode was very good, because the story for that episode, I love the story. I love it made sense for me on how Slade felt. It made sense on how Slade came to the conclusion that yeah, he must turn against Oliver. He's gonna go against his friend for me, even though yeah, the Mirakuru was what drove him crazy. But still, you could empathize with Slade in this episode, in my opinion. And number one, finally, we have my favorite episode, not just in Arrow, not just in the Arrowverse, but my favorite episode in any show ever. And I love talking about this episode. Season 5 finale, Lian Yu. For me, this episode was season 5. I love season 5 so much because we came off of season 5 after a very terrible season 4, and season 5 was just so brilliant. Everything about it was so good, and I just and
That's so true.
yeah,
I completely agree.
exactly. So
Carry on.
like, and the season 5 finale is just what it was, the icing on the cake for me. I love that episode so much. I It was so intense throughout and I love the cliffhanger. I Even though it didn't really make much of it in season 6, episode 1, but well, it doesn't matter. We didn't know that at the time. But yeah, and also we got the return of my favorite villain of all time, Deathstroke, in that episode, because up until that point he was off limits from Warner Brothers. But yeah, we got the return of everything about the episode. It had a nice send off for Prometheus. Everything about the episode was just, for me, perfection. That is why Lian Yu is my favorite Arrow episode of all time. Okay, so now that we've talked about the episodes, let us now say our top 10 Arrow characters. So let's start. Should I start or should you start? Okay, so
You go first.
okay, so I'll go first. So my top 10 Arrow characters. Okay, I have a top 10, but I also have a top 13. So instead of top 10, I'm just gonna say my top 13 characters because I honestly want to mention everyone in this list. So number 13 we have Dinah Drake, who's of course the Black Canary. Number 12 we have Earth One Laurel Lance, aka the Black Canary. Number 11 we have Quinton Lance. Number 10, we have Moira Queen. I miss Moira. I'm so glad she's in 2 episodes of this season. One was earlier in this season, season 8, episode 1, the first episode of this season. And also she's going to be in the finale. I I love Moira so much. Her presence is dearly missed. And number 9, we have Tommy Merlyn. His death is one of the saddest deaths in the entire Arrowverse, in my opinion. Number 8, we have Roy Harper. Number 7, Earth 2 Laura Lance, aka Black Siren. Number 6, we have John Diggle. Number 5, we have Adrian Chase, aka Prometheus. Number 4, we have Sarah Lance, aka the Black or the Canary at the time. She's not the White Canary or the Black Canary. At the time, she was just known as the Canary. Number 3, we have Thea Queen, aka Speedy, my girl. Number 2, we have Slade Wilson, aka Deathstroke. And number 1, of course, my guy, Green Arrow, Oliver Queen. So that is my top 10 Arrow characters.
For me, I actually took out. I didn't count Sarah because I don't know. I was thinking more legends, so I didn't include her. But she would be really high up, just to say.
Sarah's an Arrow character. She started off at Arrow. She's an Arrow
Yeah,
character.
I know she's an Arrow character, but at the time of writing the list, I thought, I don't know.
Yeah.
But she would be high up. Anyway, my 10 is. It's a joint pick. I couldn't decide between Roy Harper and Moira Queen. I love both of them, and especially, they have a very fond place in my heart, but they just weren't around too much. Moira was for the first few seasons, but she's popped up a few times since. Roy had a few seasons, and he's popped up a few times since. But maybe that's why they're a bit lower, because they haven't been around all the time. But number 9 is Thea. I love Thea, but I don't know. I feel like season 4 made me a bit sour on her. I don't know why. I just didn't think she got to do very much. I don't know. But I like Thea. I know she's your favorite. Number 8, Deathstroke. I love Deathstroke. He's one of my favorite villains, but I don't like him as much as lots of other people.
Okay.
Like, people think he's like the best villain. I still think Prometheus, but he's like the second best villain, and I think he's really good.
Okay.
When he's around. Then we got 7. We got Felicity. I really like Felicity. Occasionally she sort of isn't completely, great. Like, sometimes she's just like alright and whatever, but I think she's a consistent character that you can rely on for being good. And number 6, we got John. Again, just really good always. No complaints about John. Number 5, Quinton Lance. I love Quentin. He has a very fond place in my heart, and I thought, seeing him again this season was really effective, the way they did it, and I just love Quentin. Number 4, we got Black Canary, aka Laurel Lance, the normal version of her, not Black Siren.
Okay.
I love Black Siren, but I think it's really down to Black Canary for me, the original. And so I would say Black Canary is 4. Number 3 is actually Tommy Merlyn. I love Tommy, and every time I see him again, I get so excited. My number 2 is Prometheus. I think he's one of the best villains in the Arrowverse as a whole. And my number 2 is Oliver Queen, because it's Oliver and he's the best. So yeah, that's my picks.
Okay, that's good. Very quickly, because I know you need to go, Ben. Let's just quickly wrap it up with the Arrow seasons ranked. How would you rank all seasons of the shows of the seasons? Did that make sense?
Okay, so my number 1 is season 5. As I said, I love season 5 so much. I think it's absolutely fantastic, and definitely what you said earlier to do with season 4 and how shit it was. It was so nice to have such a good season after. And yeah, that was really, I think that's the season I always go back to. Season 2 is number 2. I love it. It's great. I love Deathstroke, and I think that's just a really solid season, really good season. Then number 3 is season 1. It's the best. It's just, the start of Arrow. It's very nostalgic, and I love it. Right now, I would say season 8 is number 4, due to the fact that I love the first few episodes, in the before leading up to Crisis. I thought it was really good. Number 5 is season 7, due to the first half of the season. I wasn't such a big fan of the back half. But I think the first half warrants it being number 5.
Same with me.
Slab side, it's really good. The first half of the season. Number 6, we got season 6. I think this is a very average season. It's quite forgettable. I don't really go back to it much, apart from that one Prometheus episode. But yeah, it's decent. Number 7, we got season 3. Again, I don't hate it. I think it's good, but it's a bit sort of forgettable as well. And then number 8, the final one, is season 4. I really, really do not like season 4. I don't think it's good at all. That's the only season I don't think is good.
My list is pretty much almost similar, but with a few differences. But I'll say mine. But I know that you need to go, so I'll say mine once you go, and then
Okay.
So.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
Okay, no worries.
If you need me again, just message me.
Yeah. I'll message.
Sorry to rush you.
No, it's fine.
Thank you.
Okay, see you.
Right.
Bye.
See you later.
Cool. Okay, so that's actually a very good list, and honestly, my list is pretty much almost identical. Not quite, but almost identical. I'll say it right now. But very quickly, I'll say my list, then I'll let you leave, because I know that you need to leave. You need to leave. But I know that you need to leave. You're in a hurry. So let me just quickly whiz through my list. So we got number 8, season 4. Of course, that for me, that's my least favorite season. I do not like that season at all. Damien Dark is one of the worst villains for me. But to be fair, Legends season 3 did redeem him for me. But then again, in season 4, he was terrible. That's what I don't. When I go to rewatch Arrow again, because I'm definitely going to rewatch Arrow, I'm not looking forward to watching season 4 again. Not at all. So number 7, we have season 3, because like you said, season 3, I found the first half of season 3 good. It just got a bit. It just backslid for me in the back half. It was overall average for me. And like you said, season 6 was number 6. Like for me, season 6 was average. It was very forgettable. Not many memorable moments for me, to be honest. So that's why season 6 is number 6. So number 5, we have season 7. And season 7 for me, the first half of it was very, very good. Season 7, Slapside Redemption episode, like we said earlier, is in my top 10 episodes of all time. It was so good. I want to watch that episode again. Now that I'm talking about it right now, I really want to watch it again, because it was It's just bringing about so many memories from me. Okay, so very quickly, season 4, we have season 1. And yeah, season 1 was such a classic season for me. That's the season 1 and season 2 are the most classic seasons for me. But yeah, and if it wasn't for season 8, that would be season 1 will be where are we now? Yeah, season 1 will be third. But for me, season 8 has been so good this season. I'm so glad because it's the final season. Oh yeah, speaking of season 8, number 3 we have season 8. For me, season, like I said, it's been so good. Season 8 is the final season of Arrow. You want it to end with a bang, and for me, season 8 has definitely ended with a bang. For me, Oliver's death was a very satisfying conclusion to his story. I love season 8 so much, and that is why it's number 3. Number 2, we have season 5. Season 5 was so, like we said earlier, it came off of a very poor season 4, and then they came back with season 5. How good it was. Prometheus, oh my goodness me, Prometheus. I love that guy so much. I love Prometheus so much. Adrian Chase is one of my favorite Arrowverse characters. He's one of my favorite Arrowverse villains. I everything about, I love that season so much. And number 2, of course, season 2. For me, season 2 not only is my favorite season of Arrow, not only it's my favorite season of the Arrowverse shows, but it's my favorite season of any show ever. For me, that's how good season 2 was. I love season 2 so much. I like everything about Deathstroke is my favorite villain of all time. He was the main villain of this season. He made this season for me. For me, he made that season. He's what made that season for me. I love that season so much, and it has some of my favorite episodes of all time in the history of Arrow in this season, as we've discussed earlier on in the podcast. But yeah, that is my seasons ranked. And what do you guys think? How would you rank all of the seasons of Arrow? How would you rank all of the episodes of Arrow? And how would you rank, what are your top 10 Arrow characters? Let me know down below in the comments. And thank you, Ben, for coming on today, because I know this was very rushed, but I knew because you have to be somewhere, so we have to end this very quickly. Would have loved more time, but we'll probably get to speak about it a little bit more next week when the series actually finally wraps up. But yeah, thank you, Ben, for coming on. And if you want to subscribe to Ben from the DC TV show, I'll leave his link in the description down below, so go check him out, give him a subscribe. I'm at the time of me, I think he's almost at 100k subscribers. I don't know if he's reached it. I'll double check, but yeah, go and help him reach 100k subscribers. But yeah, if you like this video, give the video a big thumbs up, share the video with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you guys later for more videos.